Today's episode is sponsored by Raul Rodriguez Law.
When you're in an auto accident, you shouldn't be concerned with legal runarounds, just real advice. You deserve an attorney ready to work for you, an attorney that won't back down.
I've lost loved ones due to the negligence of others. If you or a loved one has been injured in an auto accident, I want to be there for you.
Raul B. Rodriguez and his team care about ensuring you and your family are represented, whether on the road or in the workplace. Raul is real, and Raul won't back down. Call 210-899-0300 to schedule a free consultation.
What's up, guys? This is the Leija Lounge. My name is James Leija. Welcome back. For anybody watching, wherever you are, whoever you are, I just want to say I hope you're having a good day today. Hope everything's happening for you. And if it's not happening today, it's going to happen tomorrow. Positive outlook always, right? Today we're in here focusing on our mission, mental health, on our daily mission that we walk every day, but as a foundation, the Leija Family Foundation. It is our mission to bring awareness to mental health in different communities, Hispanic communities especially, like ourselves. Today I wanted to kind of go around, throw the ball around, and kind of let y'all know how we go about dealing with mental health issues, how we handle things personally, as a family, as a foundation, how we help people at our gym, just people we come in contact with because they know we're the mental health family, we're the ones that are kind of leading the charge, we're boots on the ground, just little things like that we were going to kind of go around. We have, of course, different age groups here. In the past, when you're dealing with either a family member or a loved one who is going through something mental health-wise or just some troubles, back in the day, what were some of the things that not were said about them, but how would it be handled back in the day? Right now, it's still kind of under the covers. It's coming out a little bit, right? Back in the day, how was that kind of handled? Was it a thing? Was it something that people kind of brushed off, or how did that happen? Is it so different than today?
Well, I remember when I was young, and I'm just talking about school now, not so much the family, but just being at school, and you saw kids, and I had friends and kids that had trouble communicating or trouble making friends with other kids, or the kids would pick on him like crazy because he was a different kid. He was quiet or whatever, and they would pick on him, and a lot of my friends I would see that would cry and go to the principal, and I think back then was pretty much toughen up and go back in and fight back or talk back to him or whatever it was.
Beat him into shape.
Yeah. It was something about don't give up or don't cry or be a man. For boys, it was always be man, be tougher than that.
Put some dirt on it. Rub some dirt on it.
Just go back in there and you're a boy, fight back, just stuff like that, which obviously was wrong back then, and nothing ever happened. But I'm saying nothing ever happened that made that kid any better, but or kids, because there was a lot of kids like that back in our day in school. A lot of kids had, and now you look back and say, oh my God, they were in trouble. They had something going on. We just didn't recognize it or didn't know about it. We didn't know how to. It wasn't back then. Back then it was just whatever. And it was sad because you saw these kids were really going through a lot, and some have made it. Some made it and become successful. I only because I know a few friends that had that back then, but they become successful and they're tough. But they said, man, it was tough back then for them.
And I'm sure a lot of people who grew up during that time would credit that type of way they were raised to make them seem like the person they are today. But I'm sure it would have been a lot easier if they had some type of different upbringing of how to approach those styles of trying to figure out who you are.
Yeah, you kind of think about it. It's for them. It's like I survived that somehow.
Right.
They survived it, and even back then, like if a kid got in trouble or was causing trouble in school, they would send him across the street, which is on campus detention or whatever it was, or on campus suspension.
Where is this? Where'd you go? You went to Harlandale. This is high school?
Harlandale, well, it was elementary, middle, and Harlandale Middle. I went to Moore Elementary, Harlandale Middle and Harlandale High, but there was always something going on where if kids got in trouble in school, they sent them across the street. It's an on-campus detention, and when you were there, you're always in trouble. You were in trouble, obviously, right? And we always thought, oh, those kids there were troublemakers.
How many times were you in there, James?
I never made it there.
Okay, good.
Never made. I've been
That's a
suspended,
good
but I
boy.
was
You're a
never
good
in
boy.
that.
Your
in
mom's
that.
watching this. So.
Yeah, but the thing is, those kids that were in there weren't all troublemakers, but they got in there somehow for either skipping school or not going to school or whatever it was, and they just put them all in one little area. It's kind of like a in-school jail, right? And they couldn't come back for a month or weeks or whatever. But man, it was like those kids had something going on no one recognized.
Now, Mark, when you're hearing stuff like this, right, I'm kind of thinking, okay, back to Dean's point, maybe the success of a person right now is because he went through that struggle as a kid, right? Right now we're seeing, not across the board, but right now we're seeing maybe kids growing up a little bit sheltered or maybe a little bit, on an easier path, right? And maybe they won't be as successful as their parents, or maybe, is there a certain thing, or is there a correlation between maybe growing up hard and being successful as opposed to maybe not growing up as hard and maybe not being as successful?
Well,
We're the ones with kids, right? Like,
yeah,
we have kids, so.
Right, and it's hard to say, tough to say, because I think every generation is unique to that time.
Mm-hmm.
And Dean said something earlier, right? I mean, I remember my parents would say to me, well, this is the way I was raised.
Exactly.
Well, was it the right way?
Exactly. And that's all they know, right?
And that's subjective, right? So I it's hard. Every generation, every time period is a little bit different, and you have to adapt to that. And you've shared that many times. You're not going to treat your new baby girl just like you treat Vinay.
Yeah,
right?
I'm 7 years older. I shouldn't treat them the same way because I am 7 years older. I am 7 more years wiser.
Yeah. So I think all of us have to remind ourselves that yes, you need to be true to yourself and your core values, what you learned, your upbringing, everything else, but you also got to kind of adapt to the times, right? To James's point, man, there, back then when we were going to school in the 70s, right? 70s, 80s, dating ourselves, way back then. And it was
paper back then.
Back in the 1900s.
They had school back then.
Yeah.
But good music. So sorry.
Yeah, no, but it was a different time, but it was also a time when you would see a bunch of kids outside running, playing, riding their bikes, leaving it in the morning on summer breaks and coming home in the evening, and there was no worry in sight whether my kid was safe or was going to make it back. I can't tell you, growing up, and here with my kids, I mean, we live in a nice old neighborhood. I don't know how many times we let them go outside by themselves, unless we're kind of watching them, But so again, every generation's a little bit unique and different.
And in this one, it's a lot of, y'all are speaking about school, and that's primarily where y'all saw it, where now it's social media. It's outside of school. It's not just school, right? There's more to do. There's more to see. There's more people putting things out, right? People comparing their life to what they see on social media and all that. There's a lot of things that can mess with somebody's mind right now, right? And it's a different generation. Our generational struggle is very different. Who knows what y'all could do with our generation, right? If y'all would have lasted, or if y'all would have, who knows, right? Like who's stronger? Yeah, I just have to survive school. Where nowadays it's like, okay, well, we have to survive social media. We got to survive perspective. We got to survive all these things. We don't have to, but that's the game, right? That's almost like the game that we're playing. School never ends, right?
I think what happens with kids today is
and it's not even kids; it's adults.
Well,
it's
but I'm just saying, just kids. We're talking about kids about how growing up, but kids growing up today look at other kids that have stuff. They have new shoes, new pants, new clothes, and they have nothing, or maybe they don't have it as much, and they're trying to compete with that, and they feel like less than because they don't have that, or they see their parents driving nice cars, and their parents don't have the same car, so they feel less than. And so that's comparison with everything else. And back then, I guess in our neighborhood, there was, like you said, no social media. We didn't see anything, just what we saw at school. Exactly. And everybody was the same. We were all the same. Not everybody had a lot of stuff. So if one guy stood out, well, his parents just bought a new car. Wow,
it's almost like your world was a little more closed off, I would say, as opposed to ours is everything right now. We're comparing ourselves to guys who not even in the same country.
All we knew was our neighborhood.
Well, the less you knew, the less you worried about.
Yeah, well,
exactly.
we didn't think about it.
I also think too, a lot of folks our age, they grew up, a lot of us independently. And when I say our parents weren't involved, but I shared earlier, we were outside playing, and we were playing. We weren't doing this because we didn't have this at the time. So you had to use your mind. You had to be creative. You had to play in the playgrounds. You had to fall down and break something, an arm, a finger, something, and heal yourself and just, go through all of that, right? And it's a lot different now. And so I think the kids today are bright, and they're caring, and I see them being more accepting of others, of all kinds of people. The tolerance level they have is amazing towards people of color and different races. They don't see that, versus our generation's a lot different, right? Yeah.
And I think that's one of those things where, like, you're talking about how we're talking about mental health, and it's not just you have a mental illness, right? This could be mental health going down just because you're looking at the guy next to you. You're comparing. Anybody can fall into a slump, a mental health slump or a mental slump. Doesn't mean you have an illness. Like I always say, just because you're depressed doesn't mean you have something big. You lost your job or someone passed away. Like, you should be depressed. That's logical. You know what I mean? It's nothing like. I'll speak from my perspective. Whenever I get depressed, I go through slumps all the time. I never know why. And it's always just there's nothing happening. Everything's great. I don't know why I'm feeling like this. That's a mental illness as opposed to, a situation that's going to make me go down. And that's one of those things how we approach it to people. Like, we're speaking on perspectives of school and kids and raising people and all that.
Physically, things that would make us depressed.
For sure. Yeah. That's okay. It's not bad to feel bad. It's bad to feel bad if you don't know why. You know what I mean?
Well, there's nothing causing it.
There's nothing causing it, and it's just happening.
Yeah.
So with y'all's perspective in that, and it being in school and kind of knowing y'all's perspective and trying to apply it to today's generation, what kind of advice would you give someone who maybe walks into the gym, who's going through something? How can you relate it to this generation? What would you say? Like, how do you give that advice to somebody right now?
I don't know. I've learned a lot from you, but I've learned that you listen to what they're going through.
You got to catch what's coming your way.
Yeah. We instead of and I've learned this from you. Instead of giving what I think is right and what I'm like, this is the way you do it. I listen to what they're going through first, right, and figure out, okay, this. First of all, they want to be heard, and they want to be heard like we can help if we hear them, and sometimes just hearing them is helping them.
Yeah. And a lot of times what they're saying, the answer is in there somewhere. Most of the time. If you just listen, if you have your ears open, a lot of times, and this is for parents, if you have kids or a loved one that's going through something, listen, open your ears. Don't close your mind off to what you believe is right. A lot of times when they're saying something, maybe that's the answer. Maybe you're just listening, like he said. Maybe you just listening is the answer.
And not to cut you off, but listening and not putting what I feel is right, because what I've learned 30, 40, 50 years ago does not apply anymore. That's not the same. Like, well, go and toughen up. That doesn't happen. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
You can't just go and toughen up. You can't do that because there's something not letting it happen or whatever it is. But sometimes just listening and learning, like you said, I gotta learn. We had to learn all over again. Mom and I, we had to learn everything again about how you were feeling, that what we felt.
Yeah.
Like, we can't. Well, I never went through that. I had to walk upstairs. I had to go to school, uphill both ways, back and forth, whatever, right? But that never happened. So we have to listen to see what you're going through.
And boxing and mental health just go really hand in hand, because we always teach people when you're fighting, not one style is going to beat everybody. You got to adjust a little bit. So why would it happen, or why wouldn't it apply with mental health? You're going through something, he's going through something. So one piece of advice is going to help. Just get tough, just, whatever. It doesn't work that way. You have to be, and then there's an individual problem. There's an individual problem. There's an individual problem. So it's like boxing, where I got to fight you the certain way. I got to fight you a certain way. I got to fight you a certain way. And that's how I approach it anyway.
Yeah. Like, adapt to different things that are happening, not just.
And the only way to know your opponent is to listen. The only way to know how to help is to see and to listen, right? That's kind of a cool thing,
And not to cut you off again, but a lot of parents, and I was guilty of that, is trying to implement what I learned, how I learned, and throw it on their kid. And it's a different. That doesn't work. It's a different generation. Kids think differently. The kids are smarter nowadays, and just a lot different now. What they told me back then wasn't gonna help anybody.
And it could. There's some people who just need that.
Yeah.
You know, like a swift
Tough
little
love.
kick.
Tough love.
Tough love. You never know, but that's a read the room thing, right? You gotta know your kid better than anybody else. So like sometimes they do need a swift kick, or sometimes they do need you to just listen. It kind of depends, right? That's not wrong, but it's wrong in the bad situation. You know what I mean? What are some things, like, I mean, me, I feel like, you know, just being a little candid, I feel like me coming into this family with, you know, I have bipolar disorder. So me coming into it kind of rocked the boat a little bit. You know what I mean? It kind of altered the trajectory of, I guess, our family's mental capacity, I would say, right? How is that? Like, you know, I know how I deal with it, but like being a brother, you know, being a family member, we've spoken on this before, but how, you know, letting them know, how does that change, or how do you play your role? Because it doesn't just affect me. Like we've said before, someone who has a mental illness in a family affects the family. It doesn't just affect that one person. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when there were, I guess, moments, or I guess when everything was kind of coming out and we started to learn and visually see, you know, what bipolar disorder looks like, I feel like for me in the family, I kind of became like if you're in the body, like a kidney, like you're kind of like a filter for, whether for dad, for mom, because they, I mean, whatever you release to them, they got to release it somewhere else. You know,
so
what I mean?
you're probably first in line to, what does he mean? Like what's going on?
Yeah. So I mean, luckily, I mean, as you might be able to tell, I'm not much of a talker. I'm more of a listener. So sometimes I'm like, come, just bring it. You know, I'll listen, and you know, you got to release it somewhere. So I'm the one for that. You know, I'm pretty good at that role. But for experiencing with you one-on-one, and I've talked about this before, and I think you helped me out with this. Obviously, it was more of come to realization of, I'm not gonna, if you're going through an episode, right? I'm not gonna be, well, you know what, just think positive thoughts, you know, or whatever. Like that's probably the last thing you want to hear, is think positive thoughts, or you know, you can shake it off, or give it some time, you'll shake it off.
It's almost dismissing.
Yeah, it's like, come on, like it's that easy, you know what I mean?
Like, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah. So the way I visualized it was like, man, if I was scared to go on a roller coaster, I would want someone with me to go on that roller coaster. You know, you can't stop the roller coaster, but at least what you can do is ride with the person that's timid of it, or doesn't want to get. For me, I hate roller coasters, so I would definitely want someone to be with me to help me out. So I think my advice for a sibling or for a friend that knows and is close to somebody that has some type of disorder, mental health disorder, would be like, be that partner on that roller coaster, just to help them, and say, you know what, I'm not going to stop it. We're not going to stop it, but let's ride through it together. You know, and you know, we're not going to change it, but we'll buckle down and go through until it's over.
That's a great way to put it, because me, just coming from personal perspective, maybe people out there who are, you know, go through something similar can relate, but it does feel like you're in line for a roller coaster and you can't get out. Like, you know that feeling? Like when you're on a roller coaster and you're like, damn, this is scary.
You want to back up, but
you want to get out of line, but you can't. Like, I'm already in line, not because of what other people will say, but it's just I can't move. I got to go forward. Like, this is, you know what I mean? It's one of those situations where like, damn, here it comes. Like,
So
you hear that.
You feel it coming, and you could only.
and that's sometimes you feel it, and sometimes you're on the roller coaster and you don't even know. And sometimes my hands are up, you know, and I'm enjoying it. Like when you're manic, for me, when I'm manic, I love it. It's such a rush that only certain people can feel.
So, you know, so people that don't know what manic means, explain what that means.
So I would say there's not just one. There's obviously a definition for being manic, but everyone experiences it differently, right? So your manic could be you cheating on your wife. It could be you just not sleeping. It could be you having so much energy you don't know what to do with it, right? It can be expressed a lot of
One
different
extreme
ways.
to the other.
One
right?
extreme to the other, you know, or
Out of your norm.
out of your norm.
Yeah.
You're kind of on a high. You're on a high.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I personally love that feeling because I know what it feels like to be here. And when you're here, you're almost not caring about anything. You're just going. I don't care if I crash. Like, I'm having fun right now. And that I like that feeling. It's not always great. 'Cause my wife always says, you're going to come down. You're going to come down. Like, don't go too high. But it's almost hard not to. You're on the roller coaster, right?
But that when going high, that's not even a choice. It's just going there for you, right?
Yeah, it's already going there. Sometimes I don't know if I'm there or not. Sometimes me doing this, I have to be manic to do this because I would be in my mind too much. I would be like, oh, am I saying the right thing? Am I slipping or whatever? You know what I mean? But there's a certain point of this that let's just do it, man. This is fun. Like, I'm on it. Who else gets to do this? Like all those things. And that's like kind of the good feeling. But then there's the down where it's like, man, why am I here? Why am I doing this? Like, and there's those extremes. So I kind of like that. You know what I mean? To wrap it all up though, in a nice little bow, because we have this personal family experience, because we're still fighting it to this day, because we're still young and we're still learning and it's not set in stone and everything's adaptive. Us as a foundation, Mark, how do we, we've been able to make an impact here in San Antonio just to do this. Like, how many people have you heard talk like this? Mexican American men talking about their feelings this way or talking about their experiences this way. Maybe this is the answer, but we have a foundation that's doing this now. You know what I mean? We have the backing, we have experience in this. What's a better way, or what's a way that our foundation is hitting people to give them this insight or give them this like personal experience, and even just this, but how are we doing this as a foundation? Can you let the people know of how kind of our foundation is spearheading this movement?
Well, I think we continue to do this, and you continue.
This
to
is
talk
important.
About it.
This
Right.
is very
and
important.
You continue to talk about it and share those experiences, with people, because I think just listening to somebody sometimes, like James said, your dad said earlier that he learned a lot from you. I've learned a lot just listening to all of you guys on how to handle mental health, especially with the younger generation. So I think doing this is important. We visited already with several programs out there that we want to, get behind and support. I know that there's others that want to visit with us. And so, I think it's just a matter of picking, a couple of those and kind of really getting behind them and just kind of see where this journey takes us.
What's a way that someone who's watching this, a foundation, or maybe somebody who is going through something similar, or maybe who has a foundation themselves that's, they're trying to start, how can they get a hold of us, and how can we kind of partner up in that situation?
I think the best way people can do it really is just go to redcarpetbrawl.com. And if they want some information on there, they can kind of send that email in with their request, and we'll get back to them.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, even all of our socials are available too. We are the foundation. We do have some kind of knowledge of this. You know what I mean? We should be helping a little bit more actively. This weekend, even, we have the Golden Gloves coming up for some of our fighters in the gym, and we see a lot of their training is always physical, right? We always say boxing is what, 80% mental, 20% physical.
Yeah.
Well, who works on the mental side?
Yeah.
Right. You see everybody grinding 20%. It's 100% of the 20%. Right. But the mental side too. We have guys in there that are losing before the fight's even here, right? Losing 2 weeks ago just because in their mind is
Or
just
they
so
had a
caught
bad
up.
day at the gym. They lost
You know
to
what I
the
mean?
Golden Gloves or whatever.
And that's similar to what we say mental health wise. You have a bad day. Tomorrow's gonna be better. You're gonna be better tomorrow. Like, short memory. Today's bad. Okay. What about tomorrow? It doesn't mean it has to pour into tomorrow. You never know, right? So a lot of these things that we apply at our boxing gym, it's not just with us. We try to spread the word. We try to, walk the walk. You have any experiences, maybe personal clients or, people that come to the gym that you're helping out mentally?
Well, yeah.
Everybody.
There's a lot of clients or a lot of members at the gym that come in for that stress release just because it never fails where it says, man, I need this so bad just to hit the bag, get that release, that muscle and mental release. And they're just so happy about leaving. But that's about there's whatever causes their stress or whatever causes whatever they have, for some reason coming out and being able to exercise and talk to people and talk to clients, talk to members, trainers, just because we listen. We're listening there as well, but we're giving advice and we're letting and the workout itself is gonna enhance that release. There's nothing like if you're stressed out, you hit something, a bag or training or hidden mitts. It's one of the best releases for me too. When I was young or when I was fighting, I guess I stayed in the gym. I was a gym rat, and I was always in the gym. If I fought on Friday, I was back in the gym on Monday because I think it made me feel good. And maybe not knowing that, but it made me feel good, and that's why I became a gym rat, because I love being in the gym. Why? Because I liked the way I felt.
Yeah. And it's similar to this, like us and talking. Well, for me, I can speak on my perspective of it, but the more outlets I have, the less stays in. The more I let out, the less it stays in, the less I take home. Like we always say, leave it at the gym.
Yeah.
Don't take it home. So all these creative outlets, this is a creative outlet for me personally, but for all of us, right? This is like writing in our diary. This is like expressing yourself. The more I'm able to talk, the less I'm able to really take home and, feel bad or whatever. So that's kind of what we do at the boxing gym. That's any boxing gym. I mean, I would hope that other boxing gyms kind of apply the same thing. I hope it's not just tough love like, back in the day. I would hope it's an advanced experience in any gym, right? You never know what people are coming into. Like we always say, our gym's a little tucked away, right? It's a little private. So when people find their way in, there's a reason why. There's always a reason why. Yeah. They found us somehow. You know what I mean? There's a reason why they're there. And it's our job to figure it out. And I would hope other boxing gyms and other workout communities would do the same thing. You can say the same thing with running, with basketball. Do you feel like that with basketball too? Does that have that release?
100%. 100%. I consider myself a pretty positive thinker. Doesn't mean I don't have my days where, I'm that things feel heavier than others, but I am a pretty positive thinker. But yeah, I mean, my outlet would totally be, just athletics, going to the gym on a daily basis. Celeste and I will go and walk and kind of just de-stress a little bit together. Basketball has always been my number one outlet when it comes to just, being able to like how we tell people when they come into the gym, leave everything outside. When you're here, you're present and you're able just to enjoy it because it's going to be there waiting for you when you come back, whether it's good or bad. But, it definitely helps, like Dad's always talked about, the power of positive thinking. It works for me, you know what I mean? And I'm pretty quick to be able to flip a negative into a positive. So,
I think that's how I am. I've been, pretty much all my career, but when I got that book and I was changed, I was, whatever it was, I was a decent fighter. I was a decent person. But I think when I read that book and it changed my life, it was 1991, and from there, and I was a different person. Even today, to this day, I always feel nothing bad happens to me because I don't let it. And if it does, I say, wait, and it's changing tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a different day. Right. I mean, there's not too many. I feel that I've been able to switch a negativity into a positive every time something doesn't happen the way I want it to happen. That's me. That's how and I think it just works for me. That's what I've been doing. But I also know that there's things that I cannot control that happen, and for me, I just write it out. I can't wait for it to get better. We said that saying when the water rises, it's also going to subside as well, and vice versa.
That's so interesting with with athletes. They always want to go that extra mile. They want to go and lift another weight. They want to do another rep. Yeah. But what if I told you, hey, you can actually get there and further if you just change your mindset, right? Do another mental rep or do another, do another mental lap or whatever, right? Like they would always think it has to be physical that's going to get them from here to here. But what you're saying is actually the mental side that got you from here to here. You're a decent fighter, whatever. And then all of a sudden there was a boom, right?
Oh, it just changed completely.
And it was a mentality. Yeah. It wasn't even anything to do with the gym.
I think if I was going to scale myself from a 1 through 10 as a fighter, I already had made the Olympic trials. I already had, I had turned pro already. I think I was 12-0 or whatever as a pro, but I already made the Olympic trials, which is pretty good. But when I read that book, so before that, I was probably a 4 or 5 as a person, as an athlete. I read that book, I was a 9 or 10 in my eyes. It changed every perspective of whatever happened from a 9 to a 10, and I've stayed that way. I tried to.
And nothing really may have changed except your mentality.
Oh, yeah, it was just my mentality.
And that was it.
Nothing physically.
Yeah, and that was it.
Yeah, nothing physically at all. Because I still fought the same way from 1988. 1990 to 2005, but my mentality was different. I was different. I looked at everything differently.
So we've covered how Dean kind of goes through things and how he deals with it with his wife, playing basketball, exerting himself in a positive way. You know, me, I love this podcast. I obviously speak this way. I'm artistic. I do a lot of different things, clothing, everything. What are some ways that you do it now? You know, that was back when you were fighting. What are some things that you do now to apply that? You know what I mean?
I go to the gym and work.
Well, you know, that's a healthy outlet.
I'm a gym rat, and I'm still a gym rat. And I think I'm this workaholic, whatever. I like to train clients. It's because it makes me feel good being in the gym. Even though I'm not hitting anything, I'm in the gym physically and mentally, right? So I'm in there, and it clears my mind too. I feel good, whatever. I'm not working out as much, but I get enjoyment. I see other people de-stress.
It's a positive space.
Yeah, I see. I have some clients or there's clients at the gym come in, and you see them wound up and just ready to go, and at the end they're almost like smiling and thanking you. Oh, I needed this so bad. Thank you so much. And that's a great feeling for us.
You know what's even the best feeling of that is when their spouse comes in and they say thank you for you know, because you made their day too. Like they came home better too. Yeah. What about you, Mark? What do you do?
Yeah, I used to run a lot.
And you would run with my mom. You were
right. Yeah, we were. So I went through this phase that a lot of people do in my 20s, lifting a lot of weights, was a bigger guy. And then in my 30s, I started running, so less weights, more running, and we ran miles a week, right? We were running sometimes 30, 40 miles a week up until the doctors.
You went to Beach to Bay too, right?
Yeah, we did Beach to Bay. We did a lot of stuff, and that was fun. That was my release because you're in a zone, either talking to somebody, my running partner Lisa, or we had Nancy. We had a whole bunch of other people we were used to run with and train with. Or sometimes you're just in your zone, right? That runner's zone, they call it, right? And up until the doctors took that away from me just because my arthritic knees. And so now I used to make fun of those people on the treadmill. You know, that's me now on the treadmill on the incline. But
how about walking is
great. And
so
I should have switched years ago, man, because it would have saved me some issues with the knees for sure. But you get as much.
What are some things you do now though? Like, you know, like.
So me, it's just a treadmill or walking around. There's a park by our home. I take our dog out on a walk daily. I enjoy that. I put in a podcast, or I'm praying, you know, and sometimes it's just me. It's just me and my God.
Sometimes those are the best walks.
Yeah, and I just want to be me, man. I just want to.
Wait, you think about me while you're walking?
He said he was listening to the Leija Lounge.
I didn't say my God, and I said, what?
Well, the last few weeks, it was all red carpet brawl, man. That's what I was thinking about, right? 24/7.
But that's what I tell some people, too, is like sometimes the best conversations are the ones you have with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, that's.
Well, you can solve a lot of problems. I mean, like a lot of it. Think about this. How many times have we solved our own problems in the shower?
Yeah.
Right? It's the most creative times for a lot of people because you're quiet, and it's just that serenity of that water kind of coming down, and all of a sudden your juices start to flow, your mind's going right, you start thinking about that.
And you know, real quick, Mark, I think a lot of people, and I've known from experience, but the more you relax like a fighter, the more you relax, the better you are. The more you relax, the nicer you are. And the more you relax, the more you get to think and figure things out, being relaxed. It's like anything else. If you have a relaxed body and mind, you can solve almost anything.
Yeah. I believe that. I really, really do. I think all of us, we all have that little struggle, whatever it is. Everyone has some kind of mental struggle they're dealing with. And if you say to yourself, I don't have that, no, you need to really examine yourself, because we all do. Yeah. It's all different shapes and forms. It could be something kind of minute and small, but we all can get better. We all are dealing with it. And everyone just needs to find their own release, whatever that is. Yours is basketball. Yours is being a creative individual. Yours is being that workaholic over at the gym. And the clients that go there, right? And the release that you see. And I've seen so many of them, gotten a chance to meet so many of them over the last few years and they all say the same thing. It's a great release, you know? And so I see that in my own way, you know, doing my walks or you know, prayer or whatnot. But people, you know, you have to deal with it. And that serenity helps you, I think. It helps you stay grounded, number one. But it also kind of helps you just to kind of think and maybe try to solve whatever's going on in there.
I think it's a more positive space to start moving from. You don't want to move out of haste, or you don't want to move out of being tight or being depressed or any of this. You want to move out of positivity. You want to move out of serenity.
Right.
Yeah, that you can. You want to move while you're aligned, and that's what we. The first, funny enough, it's the first thing we do when we teach boxing. Or the guy comes in, he's tight. The first thing we say is relax. It's not about the punch. It's not about the alignment. It's not about how he's, his jab, his distance. It's like relax first. You're not going to do anything right if you're tight. You know what I mean? You got to be cool.
But the one thing I would mention is we have to mention this because it's important, is that I think everybody has to talk to someone about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that someone could be a spouse, it could be a best friend, a family member, or it could be a professional. There's nothing wrong with talking to a professional, but not every professional is going to work for everyone either, right?
Exactly.
So, I think everyone just has to talk to somebody. They got to have that outlet, whatever that outlet is.
Definitely.
I mean, you might have to go to different things to kind of find what that outlet is too. That's something that works for you.
Most of the time, it doesn't come to you. You have to go seek it. You have to go find it. You have to go get it. And that's one of those situations where you're assuming that someone's looking at you and knows you're down or knows you're going through something, but most of the time they may be going through something and they're not going to recognize yours. So you got to go get it. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to say, hey, you know what, do you mind just giving me your ear for 5 minutes or whatever, And for people watching this too, also be that ear, be that shoulder people can lean on. You know what I mean? Be that mountain for somebody else if they don't have one. Be that rock, you know what I mean, for your friends, for your family, anything. That's one of the biggest advices that I can probably give today is, be a rock for somebody if you're not a rock. If you can't be for yourself, maybe you could be for somebody else, and who knows, maybe they can be it for you.
That's a great point, because I think I heard it recently where a buddy of mine was talking about this guy who kept bugging him on social media, just trying to get a hold of him, and he was like, man, this guy keeps bugging me. Like, sometimes you don't realize that you're the rock for someone else. You know what I mean? And being able to keep your eyes open and understand, like, man, this guy's bugging me, but I think there's a reason behind it. And just, it's way easier to just listen and hear him out than just keep putting him off, because that guy might need you, and you don't realize that you're that person for them.
Definitely.
It's a great point, man.
I'm glad we're talking about this, because most of the time you see guys who are behind a mission or behind like a movement, and you don't really see them put their boots to the ground. You don't see them take that first step or put themselves out there, be vulnerable, to talk about certain things that may be hard and tough. And I feel like that's what we're good at. You know what I mean? Whether or not this gets seen or not, but we're actually putting out there. We're putting shining a light on mental health here in South Texas anyway. But hopefully this starts something. Like I'm saying, you never know who's watching. If we change one person's perspective of mental health, then our job's done.
Absolutely.
If we save one person today, our job's done. If we need to reach out to anybody, you got my socials. We're gonna put my social, Jacob. We're gonna put my social right here. If you need anything, anybody, you know what I mean, let me know. That's what I'm here for. It's always important to know, like, why you're here. What's your job? I always ask people at the gym, you may be a CEO of here, but what's your job? What's your job in the world?
How the person says is your job doesn't define you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's your purpose? Why are you walking? What's going on? You know what I mean? I feel like mine is to really do this, like to really like vocalize use my experiences to the best of my capability. He has experience in boxing. He's going to teach it. He's going to show you what to do. He's going to give you these little tools and nuggets of knowledge. And that's what I'm here for in a certain sense. We all are. And, I'm just so glad we got to talk about this today.
I think one of the important things, too, is that parents that are out there and say, oh, my kids are good. They're fine. But they haven't...
They haven't asked a question or something.
They haven't asked a question, but how close are we as a family, and how long did it take us to... We didn't even find out. You told us. And how many years had it been that you knew there was something different, but we never know. And we talked every day, had dinner every day together, went out vacations together. We did everything together, and we never knew. For whatever reason, we just didn't know.
I didn't know.
How many years did it take? Well,
most of the time, I'm not assuming. I'm thinking you're thinking what I'm thinking. You know what I mean? Like, how am I so different than the next guy next to me? Well, I'm thinking this. He should be thinking this too. I mean, I'm not that different, right? And I guess later on, as you grow up, you start seeing the differences of, oh, okay, you are an individual. This is a little skewed. This is a little deviating from the norm a little bit. You know what I mean? So It takes time, you know. And I guess the more I knew about myself, the more I developed myself, the more I was able to let y'all in on it. You know what I mean? And you know, for anybody watching this, don't keep learning about yourself. Ask yourself the hard questions before anybody else does. That's not always easy, but it's worth it. It's
But
beneficial.
being truthful too, though.
It's truthful
about
to
what
yourself. You
have.
can't
Yeah.
lie to you. You know, that's the hardest person to lie to is yourself.
Yeah, don't cover it up if there's something there.
Definitely.
Talk to someone.
Well, and I think there's you know there's a lot of families that you know, maybe they recognize there might be something underlying there, and sometimes the family just doesn't want to ask that hard question,
Exactly.
right? Because do you really want to go there? You
You
know,
don't know what you're going to open up.
yeah, right. And so I think that could be a hard thing too.
I think,
for a lot of folks.
and I think that maybe parents or maybe they don't want to know what's going on because what are their family gonna say? What are their cousins gonna say? What are the neighbors gonna say?
Right.
Who cares? But they think that way, right? Some people do. Like,
Sure.
oh, I can't. What's my mom gonna say? Or what's my uncle gonna say about whatever? Who cares? I mean, everyone thinks about what other people think.
Right.
We shouldn't think that way. Think
Yeah.
of what's right. Do the right thing.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the key.
Yeah.
Right? It's just kind of doing that. But, you know, everyone just has to examine themselves too. And as a parent, man, I mean, you know, you love your kids and you're going to want to do the best and what's right for them and protect them. And sometimes protecting them is maybe be too careful on not asking them that question to start that dialogue, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, it's a tough one to gauge, but to any parent out there, to any kid out there who's going through something, it's a tough one, but it's definitely worth it. You know what I mean? I'm a testament to that. I always feel like I'm on borrowed time. You know, dealing with suicidal thoughts like on a regular. Not now as much, but I feel like I'm on borrowed time. I'm able to be here in front of you, and I wouldn't have been had I gone through it, had I not spoken. You know the day. You know, and had I not come out and said something, or had I not come to the gym that day and just let it all out, who knows? I may not be here talking to y'all. You know what I
Right.
mean? Or giving my little
Right.
nuggets of knowledge or whatever.
But this is your time, your opportunity to kind of, you know, and really, this is a reason why we started this foundation to begin with, right? It was that awakening that hey, we need to do something for this, right? We all just were kind of talking about it. What do we do? What do we support? And it just seemed like it was.
We're not going to close the shades or the blinds and
Right.
close the door and turn off the lights and hide.
Yeah.
There's nothing going on with our family. We wanted to put it out in the open and say,
Yeah, that's
want to help
exactly-
out.
If anything, we're knocking the walls down, and we're inviting everybody else in.
Yep.
You know, just like this. You know, breaking that fourth wall, and you're
And
here. you
And I know that in future episodes, you know, you're going to want to get deep into it and talk
For
to
sure.
people about it, you know.
Definitely.
And I think that's going to be really encouraging, very helpful to a lot of people too.
Guys, if y'all are watching this and you feel like leaving a comment of maybe your personal experience or something you've heard here that helps you out, please let us know. You know, this is a two-way street. This is not just us talking. We listen to you too. We want to engage with y'all as well. You know, thank you guys all for allowing me to talk about my personal story, but also not shying away from it and also opening y'all's door. You know, sharing kind of what y'all go through and how y'all deal with stuff too. That's so big. It's not just our generation, it's y'all's too. You know, you never know who's listening. You never know who's at y'all's age just saying, well, I've given up on my kid and it is what it is, but who's going to give that extra little effort?
or even people our age still going through it
sure.
by themselves and by themselves.
Yeah.
And they don't need to do that.
Definitely.
And then there's a lot of people our age who they're empty nesters now. And maybe they just had a lot of stuff that's happened to them. They just happened to kind of go through life, right? Just to get there because they had kids, whatever, and all their kids are all gone. And maybe now they're just kind of dealing with all of this. And I think, you know, for people, they just really need to find that outlet, whatever it is, find that person to talk to, and just examine themselves and then just know that they could find somebody to talk to, right?
And don't ever feel like you're too young or too old to start that change. Like, it's never too late. It's never too early. You know, I feel like my life changed at 12. So for me, you know, for anyone thinks like, oh, these are older problems or whatever. I was y'all's age yesterday, and you'll be my age tomorrow. You know, so it's just one of those things. Like, it's never too late. It's never too early to start examining your life and how you're moving, and asking tough questions if you're a parent, or even expressing yourself if you're a kid. Again, thank you guys for just being here talking about it. Thank you guys for listening as well. Any comments you want to leave, please like, comment, and subscribe. But any comments you want to leave about today's episode, they'll help me out for sure. Definitely,
well, and I think the one thing that
out.
we learned, the take home is, if you have something you want to talk about and you need a person to talk to, reach out to James.
Reach out to me. I'll be your little filter right here. That's what I'm here for. Guys, this is the Leija Lounge. We're coming to you with no barriers. Everything's open for us. This is what we do. We're a mental health foundation. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you like this content. We got more content coming your way. We got guests coming your way. We have a lot going on. Thank you guys again. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Tune in for the next episode next week.
See you next week.
Go Spurs, go.
Adios.